Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Top Marketers, the multi housing news podcast where we explore the minds of some of the most interesting marketing specialists in the industry. I'm your host, Corina Stef, and today we're talking about creativity. Not as a buzzword, but as a real competitive advantage in multifamily marketing, especially in New York City. New York City is one of those markets that puts everything under pressure: pricing, positioning, branding, placing strategy. If your marketing isn't clear, authentic, and creative, it shows fast. And that's what makes it such an interesting place to talk about what actually works. My guest today is Michelle Easterlin, Vice President of Leasing and Marketing at Avery Hall. She brings a unique perspective to multifamily marketing, shaped in part by her background in fashion, where branding, consumer psychology, and storytelling are everything. Today, she applies that creative lens to leasing and marketing some of Brooklyn's most high profile residential projects. Michelle, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to our Top Marketers podcast.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Before we get into multifamily marketing, I'd love to start with your perspective. How did your early experiences shape the way you think about marketing and storytelling today? Was there a moment when that approach clicked for you?
I think I was always like a creative, imaginative kid. And, I loved dress up and playing with clothes and coloring and writing and, just kind of in my own little dreamland. And so naturally, I just got into fashion. And from there, I really learned about storytelling because every season you have a new theme, whether it's highlighting an era or a pattern or whatever inspired the designer. You would then create a whole story behind it. And it's not just the clothes, it would be the music, it would be the event, it would be the show, the pop up shop. And so it just turned into this big narrative. And I feel like it translated really nicely to real estate because it's not clothes per se, but it's a building and every building is unique. And how do we tell that story and highlight it and make it stand out and different than your traditional real estate marketing? So I think that's been how it all kind of transitioned. It's funny because I always liked fashion, but I really found my passion in real estate. It just kind of connected everything that I enjoyed with fashion because, it's still, there's a design component. You have to have an eye, there's the marketing, and there's the architecture, and there's working with people. And so it was fun to kind of start this career and have it also bring out what I enjoyed in fashion as well.
Well, fashion taught you many things, and what did the world teach you about consumer behavior that still shows up in your work now?
I think what it taught me is that people really do value quality. They're also willing to pay a premium for it, and you can't really trick the consumer. People can feel when something is nicely done and thoughtful and well appointed. And so I think we have to be mindful when we are designing that it's the highest quality and a high standard and it's a lifestyle and it makes people feel good. And so I think that's what it taught me.
You are based in New York City, one of the most competitive rental markets in the country. Before we get into tactics, how do you personally define creativity in multifamily marketing here?
New York is very, very competitive. There's a lot of supply. So you do have to be creative and kind of think outside of the box. What I found in New York is it's kind of cookie cutter, the marketing. It's an exterior image, it's some renderings, it's some text on top that now leasing, and it's got the logo, and it's not really unique and it doesn't really stand out. And I think that The marketing that I try to do is create a feeling, create an experience, create a lifestyle, kind of inspire the prospects to live there. And so that's how we try to stand out with our marketing and be competitive when there is so much supply.
Sounds like a pretty tough life out there in New York City. Watch out.
I know.
Do you think creativity in this industry is something that can be learned, or is it more about mindset and curiosity, or being a natural like you are?
I think everybody can learn something. I think you can always teach a skill, but I think what makes it unique is you have the eye or you don't. You either know what works or you don't, and you have to have a level of taste, but I think you can teach kind of the perimeters and design or marketing 101, but I think it takes a special talent to actually know what works and doesn't.
There's just so much inspiration around us, and it's very hard not to be moved by something, any creative ideas with so much content out there nowadays.
It's like, with TikTok and these videos and AI and, everybody is kind of learning creativity in their own way. And maybe if it's not their strong suit per se, there's something else that they shine in, and everyone has their kind of niche. And, it's just honing into it and just keep evolving it and become better at your craft.
So still good news.
Yes, yes.
Now, let's get a bit into the New York City mindset and lifestyle. What makes marketing in New York City fundamentally different from other multifamily markets? What do you think?
I think we're also developing in Richmond and Charlotte, so I do have experience outside of New York, and it's very, very different. New York is fast-paced, things move quickly, it's very competitive, and I think New York has just developed these skill sets with negotiation, and nothing's black and white, and, how to get deals to the finish line. I find the other markets maybe a little bit slower and a little bit formulated, and I don't think that it should be. I think you need to always be creative and find ways to stand out, make yourself different from the other buildings and your team different and the experience and even living in the building different than the others by building that community.
What do you think? Where do marketing teams tend to underestimate the challenge that is New York City? Or are there specific challenges you faced on a project where that difference was really clear?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is having so much supply and standing out. I think it's also when you come to market too, because that's not always planned, especially for like a lease up. So sometimes you miss that spring summer market and then you're like in the dead of winter where it is slower. We actually had an experience at 544 Carroll that opened in October, right close to Halloween, and then you're in Thanksgiving and Christmas and, Hanukkah. So it was kind of a really tough time to come to market, especially with the highest price point in the market. And so we had to get really creative of how can we get traffic in the door? How can we get applications in? Our standard kind of digital marketing wasn't even cutting it. Like, how are we going to get exposure out there and people in the door? And so we kind of went old school and did guerrilla marketing, which is basically like hitting the streets and printing out flyers. And we went to farmers markets and introduced ourselves. And we are right on Fourth Avenue where the marathon runners run. And so I was like, let's set up a tent on the corner and let's have a DJ and let's pass out coffee and,
Wow.
monogrammed water bottles. And let's invite them to come upstairs and do a tour after the race and have mimosas. And it was amazing because we actually ended up having like 5 or 6 tours that day from converting them from the street. And so sometimes you just have to go old school and, find ways to get out there.
Well, some people still operate in an old school way, so it's hard to beat that.
Yeah. You got to try everything and see what sticks sometimes.
Absolutely. And with renters constantly bombarded by options, how do you cut through the noise without over marketing or losing authenticity?
Because you can feel it when someone's like selling you, right? Nobody likes that. It kind of feels like you. So I really believe in showing the product versus telling the product. So it's through the print marketing and digital marketing, it's creating a feeling and an experience that kind of gropes people in. And then once you get people in the door, it's selling the dream of the building and showing the community. Sometimes I feel like leasing agents or brokers, they're just trying to give as much information on tours and it feels forced and it feels like you're, again, being sold. And I think the best experience is just when you kind of go along and you ask questions and you keep it natural and you let the product speak for itself. And so I'm a big believer of less is more.
Because that's the truth, really. Coming from fashion as well.
Yes,
Can be
exactly. And sometimes you can be over the top and avant-garde and, you know, but that's not every day. And every day it's you just want to feel comfortable. And I think that shines within, if you're comfortable, everyone else is comfortable.
Is creativity in multifamily more about visuals and branding or about problem solving under pressure?
I mean, it's both, of course. You need to have both. But I think to initially attract people and get people in the door, it's the visuals. You really need strong photography, strong renderings, especially with all social media. People are drawn to attractive images and videos. And so you really do need to have strong visuals.
But do you have an example when the creative solution wasn't visual at all?
Problem solving. I mean, I think that's in the negotiations, right? That's where it's not black and white. You have to get creative with how can I close this deal, so both people walk away happy and it makes sense. And I think it's out of the box, like marketing loss leaders, right? So maybe it's a lower price unit to try to get people in the door and then you upsell them. So I think there's other tactics like that involve the problem solving aspect of marketing.
How have renter expectations in New York City evolved over the past few years, and how should marketing teams be adapting?
It's definitely involved, because I think all the information is out there. So people are doing their research, they're doing their due diligence, they're expecting a higher level of quality and more amenities. And so I think it's being transparent with everything too and providing that information so people are informed and educated. And I think they really respect that and it always translates well.
Are there ways you've shifted messaging or channel strategy in response to those changes?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's adapting to the future, right? It's like, let's try this marketing video, or let's try this TikTok, or let's get out of our comfort zone and lean into more content creation and give people experiences. And so you just always have to adapt. And especially in real estate, as things move so quickly, you can't be stuck in your ways. You got to experiment and see what sticks.
Absolutely. Like in fashion.
Exactly, yes.
Well,
Exactly.
they say fashion is cyclical. Do you think that applies to real estate as well or to multifamily marketing?
Yeah, of course. Definitely.
You mentioned before and in your interviews that real estate is ultimately about people, not just transactions. How does that belief show up in your marketing approach day to day?
Yes, it's very much about people. It's learning the consumer, it's asking questions, it's being curious, listening to their needs, and then marketing around it. And that really applies in the digital marketing world because then you're knowing your audience and you're knowing how to find their interest and then find ways to get their attention. So I think it's important on a marketing standpoint. I think it's also important on a leasing because, being a people business, it is sales. And That's how you can close people. When they feel comfortable and heard, you're narrowing down what they're saying they want and then finding exactly what they want. And then they trust you. And then you're able to close the deal because of that relationship.
Closing deals is not about numbers most of the time.
It really is. And it's creating experiences. It's how somebody feels. It's how they feel when they see a visual image. It's how they feel when they're on tour. The aspirational lifestyle too. If you know your audience, you know what they're looking for. So one Borum, it's mainly 3 and 4 bedrooms, so they're larger family-sized residents. So what are they looking for? They probably want a kid's playroom. They probably want a rooftop with a water feature the kids can run in and out of. They want a lounge where they can entertain. And it's really understanding the consumer and then highlighting why they should be at that building.
At what stage in a project do you start thinking about community, people, and how does that shape what you do next?
Oh, day one. I mean, I'm thinking about it when we're in the development, just when it's even the ground and we're looking at what should we build. It starts with the staff too. You build a community with your staff. It's a friendly face when you come home. It's the help that you have around the building, creating events and moments for people to mingle and build relationships and build a community. And then they don't want to leave. They're happy. They got their friends, they got the staff that they like, they feel safe and secure. So it's day one. You're focusing on the tenant and their relationships.
What does a community first marketing approach actually look like in practice, especially in established New York City neighborhoods?
I try to do at least 2 events a month. And I try to mix it up, something for everybody. And I try to get creative of how can we make this unique and fun and have a good turnout and get people excited. I've done wild events. I've had synchronized swimmers in our rooftop pool at 655 Union. I've done aqua yoga at one Borum. I did a gardening workshop at one of our buildings. So I try to get creative. I try to make it fun. I tried something for everyone. Like at one Borum, we do a lot of little kids' activities and we have music classes so they learn how to play instruments and story time and coloring, craftsmanship. It's really fun for everybody, and it's like an additional amenity. It's something outside of their apartment that they can take and have the convenience. They don't have to leave their apartment, and it's giving them a sense of community. We really do find that it helps with our retention significantly. Like at one Borum, it's a 5-year-old building, and 50% of the residents are original, which is unheard of. Yes.
Wow.
Usually that's like year over year turnover. And so I would say we're doing something right. Like we nurture our community and we have wonderful staff and it keeps people in place and it's a win-win for everybody.
Sounds like a win-win for everybody, that's for sure.
Yes.
In neighborhoods like Brooklyn, how do you balance introducing something new while respecting what's already there? Now that you mentioned tenants who are there from day one, are there examples of messaging or community engagement you leaned into specifically for that reason?
Yeah. Well, Gowanus is a good example. We have 3 buildings in Gowanus, and it's got some interesting press. Not everybody's happy of the transformation of the canal and the cleanup and the promenade that they're building. And I can understand that and appreciate it. And I think there's a fine balance between being excited for the growth and the development and also acknowledging the history. I think the important thing is building a relationship with the community around. So, like the local restaurants and bars and shops, and we've introduced ourselves. We've had events, co events with them, partnerships. We provide promotions for our residents to these local businesses because we want them to succeed and also be excited about the new retail opportunities that are coming. I think that even started from the development and the design of the buildings too. Like we didn't build this glass tower in Gowanus. We built something that felt appropriate and had some industrial design elements that leaned into the Gowanus Canal and the grit, but then also making it beautiful.
And how much of successful New York City leasing comes down to selling the lifestyle versus selling the unit itself?
I would say it's probably 60% lifestyle, 65% lifestyle, and 35% the unit itself. I think after COVID, especially, people really care about the amenities and what's outside of their apartment. So I think that, of course, it matters about the layout and the feeling of the unit and the quality, but I think more so than ever, people really want that community and those amenities, and that contributes to their lifestyle. We really leaned into the lifestyle at one of our buildings, 655 Union. It has a really appealing amenity package. It's got an outdoor pool, it's got a wellness studio, a Pilates studio, a Zen garden deck. It's got a top floor gym and yoga studio, and so it's very sexy, and we were like, "This kind of feels like your very own Soho House or, Equinox printing house," and it's this lifestyle of health and wellness and also entertaining, and so we really wanted to lean into the lifestyle component, and it was very successful for us. So I think that's a prime example how important it is to offer outside offerings.
Looking forward, how do you see creativity continuing to shape multifamily marketing in dense, high expectation markets like New York City?
I think it's just gonna continue to evolve and get better. I think with AI too, it's been really helpful from a marketing standpoint. I think that we just have to lean into it and keep working with creative teams and content develop influencers and just keep trying to stand out and evolve as we go. You have to keep trying new things.
Michelle, thank you so much for being here and for accepting my invitation once more. It's been a very thoughtful and felt conversation on creativity, life in the big city, and everything that's beautiful and surrounds us.
Yes, thank you so much. And I wish you all the success and excited to follow your journey.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe to our channels and check out more episodes where we explore the strategies shaping multifamily marketing today.